Hi, this is Aera and you are listening to Talk to the Artist. This month I have Michi from Innellea with me. We're talking about his personal experiences traveling and playing parties in times of Corona, actually being tested COVID positive, his collaboration with Kevin De Vries on Afterlife, going solo, the importance of visuals and lights for the club experience, and what skateboarding means to him.
Welcome, Michi. Thank you so much for taking the time. We were actually supposed to meet on the weekend to talk face to face, but unfortunately, due to Corona, it was not possible to meet because I wasn't feeling so well. So I thought it would be a better idea to have a test and to postpone the interview. And luckily for me, my test was negative, so that's good. But I'm still glad that I did it. And I mean, in the end, we can also do it via Zoom. So
for me as well, I think it's good like this. Yeah, and we can do it screen from screen as well. So I'm fine with this.
I remember when we first spoke about doing the interview that you just came back from a tour and was actually tested positive. I thought we would start with this to talk a little bit about this experience and how it was for you.
Yeah, so basically my August was pretty packed for those crazy times. And I was always somewhere in between. Is it okay or not? Or what can I do to be safe or to keep others safe? So what I did basically was always before I leave my country and when I come back, I do a test. And this probably is the most I can do kind of for me. And yeah, so I decided to do this and test myself all over and over. Yeah, and then I came back from Tunisia and Hungary, and I did the test on the airport directly. And they told me that it takes 24 hours to give me the result. And after 72 hours, I called the number of the testing company over and over. And after the whole day, I reached a person that told me, you don't have your result yet because you got tested positive. And I was like, okay, where's the sense behind this? Because I did it for my own will, the test. So I was not supposed to go into a quarantine during these 3 days. I did it kind of. I didn't isolate myself during these 3 days, but I tried to avoid all the contacts. Yeah, and then it all started. From that point on, I had to stay in quarantine for 10 days.
So you felt fine. You didn't have any symptoms.
Yeah, no, I felt super fine. I was super healthy, in a very good mood. I didn't feel any of the symptoms. I didn't lose my smell or my taste or whatever. And another weird thing is I saw my parents. They picked me up from the airport and I was super scared because I got tested positive and now they are definitely a risk group. And so I was afraid. But yeah, my girlfriend got tested twice negative. My parents got tested twice negative. My driver in Hungary was tested negative. I was driving with him 4 hours in a small car. So yeah, it's super strange. I don't know. And I'm not sure if the test was wrong or right because I asked them if it's possible to test me again. And they said, no, it's not possible. If you got tested positive once, you have to stay in quarantine for 10 days and then you're free. So I don't even know if I had it after 10 days or not.
It's a strange situation, yeah, for sure. And I totally also understand about the need to play again. First of all, people want to go out. People need to go out. People need this time, especially after such a long period of not being able to go out and meet other people. And then when it's possible again, of course, they will. On the other side, there's always risks involved, and there's people that say that it's not a good idea to play again, that it's dangerous to do so. So, yeah, I was just curious when you made this decision and if it was easy for you or if you struggled with it?
Yeah, basically, my feelings were from the beginning that if I got a request, I will play. Just because I also want to go out and I'm hungry, like the year was planned, like a lot of gigs, like good shows. And then suddenly Corona came, everything was breaking down. And also my feelings, also the emotions were breaking down. And then, Chuck, there were those opportunities to play. And yeah, for me, it was okay, I play. I don't think too much about it. I just did it. And then after confirming the gigs, of course, I had in my mind, so, is it right? Is it not right? But it's also super hard to see what's right or wrong. For example, if you're living in Germany, you have almost 16 different rules concerning the coronavirus, And this is another thing, I think. There were always those illegal raves, for example, in Berlin at Hasenheide or in Munich on the Gärtnerplatz where they just drink beer, but there are no controls, nothing. You can follow back the names, you can track them. So I think sometimes it makes more sense to legalize something and control it than illegalize it and not control it.
It's true. People will find a way to go out and they will find a way to get together. This way, at least you have a way to control it. And also, like you said, it's very different from one county in Germany to the other, from one country to the other. And then you also have the different numbers in each country. So some countries like Switzerland, they are supposed to be very safe. So there are even indoor parties happening again. So you also have to look at the legal options in each country as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's like this. And I think, for example, I made this Tunisia show, which was really a lot of people, but also there were nearly 0 cases. And so I decided to do it as well. But I also told the promoters to keep space behind the DJ booth, that I am not in the end the super spreader that goes from A to B and carry it from the club to the airport, to the driver, to the hotel, This chain is getting super, super fast, super big.
Did testing positive change your approach to that? Or did you think about it differently?
That's a good question. I went to Berlin on this weekend, or it was like the weekend after my quarantine. And yeah, I felt strange. I was scared, kind of. I didn't want to go out again. And yeah, of course, yeah, I think it changed my mind. Yeah. But if a request is coming, I think I would accept it again.
One thing I would be very interested in is if you could feel any sense of different energy at the parties when you were playing. How did it feel for you to play again?
Yeah, so basically the energy was always crazy, like really crazy, high energy. The people wanted to go out. They needed to go out again, to see each other, to talk with each other, to hug each other, kind of. Yeah, and also, I mean, of course, to listen to music, but it's the whole thing together that makes it so special. And I think there was a big part missing at the last 4 months. And if they got the chance to go to a party again, then of course they go for it. And besides those very euphoric people, you have also the people that are a little bit more scared. So if you play on a party where social distancing isn't possible, kind of, I saw sometimes people were a little bit afraid and take 10 steps back, or I don't know.
Did you play any party where there were more strict distancing rules? For example, I played my first gig in Kiel last weekend, and they built a concept which was, of course, outdoors, and you could rent your little private table for, I think, for 5 people or for 10 people. But then when you were around the table, you could basically dance, take off your masks, and do everything normally, but just within your group. And it worked, I have to say. It was a little bit different because there was more distance just between everyone else, but the people themselves that were together, they enjoyed themselves a lot and they had a great time. So did you also play something like that already?
I played once in Valencia where it was like this, where you can rent the square meters or the table, like you said. And also on Sunday with Kevin at About Blank. And I think this is a very good solution, but you need a big place for that. Like, it costs a lot of space. And in the end, if you're a club, maybe it's not that profitable anymore.
When I saw your videos or your posts about Tunisia, for example, at first I was super overwhelmed. It gave hope in a way. It was a signal that it might be possible to start again, to start new. Of course, on the other side, I also felt like, is this the right thing? Is it also setting a good example? And it's these conflicting emotions that you have.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I was also, my feelings were mixed up if posting it is okay or not. But there were so many videos already that I thought, okay, I will do it. But it was not an easy decision because I was aware of those thoughts as well. And yeah, but I see it also as a sign of hope. But yeah, then on the next day, it's again, was it right?
How was the response?
Only good feedback. I didn't receive one bad message for it.
The name of your next release on Afterlife, Hoffnungsschimmer, which basically translates to glimmer of hope, which you produced together with Kevin de Vries. Was that a conscious decision directly related to this idea to call it like that? And during the production process, was that also something that you thought about?
Yeah, definitely. We started the whole collabo, I think it was March, maybe. So when Corona started. And we were pretty fast. We made the whole EP within, let's say, 3 months, maybe. And Hoffnungsschimmer was the last track we did. And the name fits just perfectly, I think, with the melodies. The whole track is super different to what the rest of the EP sounds like. It felt like a little bit of a glimmer of hope, yeah. And also the first track called Das Licht, Light, also was kind of the same emotions with the break. And yeah, I think it was just a self-expression kind of, yeah.
How did you work together? Probably you didn't meet, but yeah, how did you work? Did you send files back and forth? Talk a little bit about the process, how you did it.
Basically, I think I started the first song and I made like a little melody, some like a basic loop. I work with Ableton and he's working with Fruity Loops. So yeah, basically it was just sending audio files back and forth. Yeah, then he added something and I was listening to it, was like, oh, okay, that's great. Please send it back. I have one more idea for the break. And that was for the first track, for example. So it was really fast. Then the second track, we decided to make a stronger one, like a little bit up-tempo-ish. There was the other way around, kind of, where he sent me the drum loop first, and I was adding like the synth line and arranged it a little bit. And on the third track, I was recording drums with my studio neighbor. He's a professional drummer. He's amazing. Like, I was so blown away by seeing him playing the drums because I was telling him, okay, let's play a groove that stops after like 2 or 4 bars. And he was playing it so well from the first take. And we did 4 takes. It took us half an hour maybe, and perfect. And then I sent the drums with a little pad and yeah, just a little arrangement to Kevin. And he was sending me back this project after 3 hours or 4 hours of work, and it was basically done.
Amazing. You recorded with a drummer. Do you have any instrument that you've learned? Are you self-taught? Talk a little bit about your musical journey as a producer and as a musician.
Yeah, basically, I just taught myself to play the guitar, but it was in my youth, basically. So I was listening to all this Grateful Dead, Led Zeppelin, Ramones. I was really into this kind of music, this old school rock kind of thing, because of my dad, I think, because he was listening to it a lot, and also his brother. Then I played ice hockey a lot, so I stopped playing the guitar and did something else between. I then decided to really dig deeper into this music thing. And then I taught everything myself, like from playing a little bit piano to work with some software synthesizers or with synthesizers. And yeah, that's basically it. I just did it so often and over, I think. I did it like for 6 years every day. And that's the reason why I kind of evolved my ear, because I'm not, I can play notes, but I think in the end for me, the best thing is if I feel just good when I play something. It doesn't matter if the note fits or not.
That's true. In the end, that's the only thing that we can look for as musicians is how does it make me feel when I'm doing it. And some people say it helps them to know about music theory. For some people, they actually say, I don't want to know about music theory because it might get in the way.
Definitely. I think it would have helped me to reach the point where it feels good faster than without my education, kind of. But yeah, I'm fine with it.
I was very curious always about how you find your melodies and how you find your sequences, because it's a big part of your music. And for me, they feel very, very unique and very special. Is it more of like a trial and error, or do you have something in mind and work to that point, somewhere in between?
Yeah, it's somewhere in between. It's sometimes trial and error. For example, in my song Vision Quest, I recorded an old part where I tried something and then I was accidentally playing a note on my MIDI keyboard. And then it was like this sound. And I realized like, okay, this is perfect. I have to rebuild it. And yeah, sometimes it's like this, but sometimes I have something in mind from the beginning. I also sometimes use the depth for dark time. It's a sequencer which isn't working with MIDI notes or notes, but with, is it voltage control? I'm not sure, but I don't see the note when I twist the knob. So I just have to listen over and over, and it's running, and I just feel it then. And that helped me a lot to get away, because I once had this point where I kind of stuck in finding those apps or sequences. And then I bought this tool and it was very helpful because I got away from this, can I put this note there and it sounds good? But just trying it. And it was really cool. I really enjoyed this tool.
Are you a fast worker or are you a slow worker? Do you finish things quickly, or do you like to let them sit for a while and take your time with it?
I would consider myself as a very fast worker. Like I have some tracks where I only worked 3 hours on it. For example, Mumbling Machines was one of those tracks. It was the bonus track of my Prospective Vision release. There, it was also a point where I got stuck in doing the same things over and over, and I forced myself only to use my analog gear, and it helped me a lot to get over this stuckness. And I feel very fast if the loop is good or not. Sometimes I don't even save it if I just worked on one loop the whole day. For me, I can't feel it anymore after that.
I'm the same, I have to say. And for me, it also helps to be more objective about it and to have an emotional connection to it. So this makes it easier to decide, is it worth it? Is it good? Is it bad? But did it take you long to get to that place where you can work that fast?
Yeah, it took me long to accept it, that not everything has to be finished. That is like a very hard part for me to accept. Okay, this track is not really good, or you don't have to release everything. it's a feeling you have from the beginning, or you don't have it. And if I don't have it till the end of the day, then I say, okay, let's try another one. But yeah, it took me long to get to this point where I realized this is good, or this may be good or not.
Interesting. Do you work on music every day?
Most of the time, yeah. But the last 3 months, I took a break, but I needed it. And I'm totally fine with that. That also took me long because when I made this Afterlife Voyage podcast, I was in the studio for 3 months and I created like this whole mix as only originals, and I produced it in key kind of that it always fits perfectly to each other. So I was in the studio for 3 months and all my creativity was gone after that 3 months. But I didn't want to accept this. So I went to the studio after that podcast again and again, and nothing was working. I was super frustrated. And I was also talking to a lot of DJ friends if they have those feelings sometimes, because I was afraid that I can't do music anymore. I don't know. And then Benny told me from Adana Pins, told me like, bro, relax, just chill and don't go to the studio for 2 weeks. And if you feel fine after 2 weeks, it's good. And if you feel fine after 1 month, it's also good. Just don't stress yourself. And that's very important, not to stress yourself, because you have to be creative and you can't be creative if you stress yourself.
Yeah, frustration is the opposite of creativity completely. And I'm asking this because when people might hear, yeah, I finish a track in one day, they think, wow, that's amazing. But then you don't really think about all of these days where you go to the studio and where you don't finish anything. So this is also part of the work, and something to keep in mind for people who are trying to make music or trying to get somewhere, that it's not only these moments where everything works perfectly. It's more the exception, but you have to be there and you have to work on it and you have to know your tools and study to get to that point where you can, if the stars align, create something that's magical and that's good.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree.
I would also be interested in your approach to playing live. How is it set up? It doesn't have to be super technical, but just to get a perspective or an idea what you want to achieve with your live set, maybe.
Yeah. So first of all, that was a very hard part for me as well, because I thought playing live always has to be something with improvisation a lot and doing all the things like really live. And at one point I realized, man, it's not possible for me to play everything live, because the most of my tracks live from a certain arrangement where pads are evolving during the whole track. So it wasn't really possible to play every pad live, or also like the build up of the drums. It wasn't possible because I only have two hands, and for me, I can't do it. Yeah. And so that was the first thing that I had to figure out for myself. And also, how can I react to the crowd kind of without all this crazy improvisation things? So I decided to make like one big track where I can choose if I go this direction or that direction at some point. So maybe if I play peak time, I know, okay, I play this live set because it works better for peak time. But if I play in the beginning or on a festival, it may be better to play this live set where I choose this direction afterwards. But that's basically the only thing. How can I react to the crowd? I mean, of course, I can turn off the kick and add some reverb and all these DJ things I can do as well. And I also have like the TR8 with me where I can improvise a little bit. Yeah, and then I also have this... okay, like in my last live, there was a lot of things standing around and I was turning a lot of knobs and stuff. But I decided that I can do it there because it was in Munich and it was a lot to carry. So also a point for me when I'm touring, which I don't do at the moment, but it has to be carryable kind of. And it also has to be a little bit comfortable, that I don't arrive at a place where I have to build up the stage for like 6 hours or something.
You already talked a little bit about traveling, and when you're playing live, of course, you think about that. But generally, when you're traveling a lot. It's a lot of stress. And also, maybe going back to what we started with about focusing on your health. I know that you started out as a duo with Daniel, and at the end of 2019, you've decided to basically split or have it as a solo project. Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, so basically, first of all, I want to say that Daniel and I still are good with each other, and I love him as much as a brother, kind of. And he's one of the greatest persons I met in my life, I would say. He's super kind and thankful and helpful as well. And yeah, it was a slowly growing process, I would say. The pressure was getting more, and I started to do most of the work because he was also stressed with his university, and it was just getting more and more. Traveling got more and more. Yeah, so at one point it was just me doing all the music and also social media and stuff like this. And then in the end, there was also this kind of sickness he had. There was like a heavy metal poisoning, which is also affecting your mind, kind of. You can't sleep well, you're not hungry. Yeah, and then we decided together that it makes more sense to split. And now it feels very good for both of us. I just had a message from him few weeks ago where he told me like he feels super good now, and he has a job now as well. So yeah, I think it was a good decision. And now coming to the part of traveling alone, I miss him sometimes, of course. There are some moments where I really wanted someone to have with me. For example, arriving at a club which is packed and you're not really in the mood to talk with a lot of people, so it's easier to talk with your partner. And musically, I think, like I said, it was a slowly growing process that started like 2 years ago, that I just did the whole thing by myself. So there's not really a big change. I mean, of course, sometimes there is this objectivity missing. When I sent him a track, he was always honest and told me like, change this, change that, or that's good, or whatever. That's maybe missing at the moment. Yeah.
Do you have a group of people that you send your music when you finish something to get feedback, or are you always sure kind of when it's good or not?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but I most of the time show it to my studio partner Maxi. He's also having a music project called Ubik, and he's also very honest with me. So I think he's the first person I send it to.
Do you find inspiration in other music? For example, now when you said you took a little break from making music, do you spend a lot of time at home listening to music? What kind of music are you listening to? And also maybe has it changed during the lockdown at all?
Basically, I'm listening most of the time to electronic music, but not like four to the floor dance music, but more like this bonobo, quartet, more experimental stuff. And I can listen to it like 24/7. But I think what changed is that I wanted to do it in the studio as well. So in the beginning of the lockdown, I was producing a lot of this kind of stuff. Yeah, but my music taste didn't really change during the lockdown.
You said that when you were younger, you played the guitar and then you started to take ice hockey more seriously. And actually, you're very into sports. The first time that we met was actually skateboarding, because I saw in one of your Insta stories that you went skateboarding, and I was like, yeah, next time you're in Berlin, we have to skate together. So this is kind of how we first met. Um, do you think that this has any influence on your music as well? being into skateboarding, snowboarding, and these kind of things? Is there some kind of relationship that you can see?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure that there's a relationship, because I think this is the only moment where I can really switch off my head completely. Like, I'm standing on a skateboard, and from this moment on, I'm not thinking about anything. My phone's switched off, or just put it aside and listening to music or something like this. But I think, yeah, sports is very important to free your minds, to be creative again. Also, skateboarding, snowboarding, I would consider those two sports as creative sports, kind of. Especially skateboarding. I mean, you can do whatever you want in some kind of way and be creative. So I think, yeah, my music would be different without skateboarding. In the last time, I was skating so much, and I really enjoyed it to have a free mind to go back to the studio. And I also think that skateboarding is super close to the music scene, kind of, because if you go to a skate park, it's always easy to talk with somebody. They're most of the time always friendly and accept you as you are. And it doesn't matter if you just start with doing some turns on your skateboard or if you are ripping the skate park. Doesn't matter. And also, like we met, it was an instant connection, just because we knew that we both are skating. It's crazy, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you can go all over the world and meet people who are into it, and you kind of recognize each other. And there's a certain spirit that you have, and that connects people in a way. So, do you remember your first sound, or the first musical memory that you have, or sound memory? It could be anything that comes to mind, the first one, or maybe the first important memory.
The first important memory maybe was at a snowboard movie. I saw a snowboard clip back in the days from Season 7 where there was such a crazy soundtrack. And from that moment on, I was always connecting pictures with sound. I mean, in this kind of period in my life, it was snowboard videos, but also now I love the combination between visuals and sound. Yeah, that was the first experience. I think it was, yeah, not so long ago. I mean, like 15 years or something. That was the first time I was really like, okay, music is amazing.
Oh, yeah. I know that there are some skateboard videos where I still know the whole soundtrack. What would you say is your most played record? It could be something that you listen to at home a lot, or it could be something that you play out a lot. That's a classic in your set. What's your most played record?
Jamie XX Gosh. That's my most played record. I think this is the only track I bought on iTunes. I have it on my phone, and I'm always, yeah, I think I listen to it once a day. I don't know why, but this track is giving me so much emotions and also energy, kind of. I love it. And also there, I love the music video. It's so crazy. It's really great. I love it. And I also play it sometimes.
Is it something that you want to pursue more, like the mix of visuals and music?
Definitely. At the moment, I'm working on a all night long live experience where I want to always have like a certain stage with a certain lights. I think it will go for 6 hours, something like this, or 5 to 6 hours. That's what I'm working on at the moment, also with the light concept. Because I think club experience definitely is a mix between lights, visuals, plus sound. And I want to focus on that, yeah.
If the light is done well, it just gives so much more depth and another dimension to the music. Even if it's just something really simple, it can really pronounce the moment and kind of bring it all together. Mm. If you had a podcast, who would you interview?
I think it would be Olafur Eliasson. I love his art, and it's also connected to visuals and all this stuff. Maybe I would love to talk to him.
That's amazing. I'm getting goosebumps just to think about his work. And I'm pretty sure he went to quite a few nightclubs. Like when you look at his work, yeah, And one more question. Is there something that you would like to ask me?
I heard a story on the weekend that you are working with a belt that for the subs. Is it true?
I have a sub pack in my studio, which is a kind of subwoofer, but you put it onto your chair. So it vibrates in the bass frequency, and it basically is giving you a tactile feedback on the bass frequencies. And it also helps me to make a decision about how it will sound later when you listen to it on a big system, because it really gives you this kind of kick in your back. And I cannot imagine to work without it. It's kind of like a separate sense in a way, because it's not like hearing, but it's very, it's your whole body. And when I first heard about it, I was very skeptical, and I didn't think it would be good because it sounds a bit weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine it.
And then I was Googling like sub pack producer, whatever, and I came across a drum and bass forum. And everybody knows that drum and bass producers are the most craziest next level nerds when it comes to sound and technology. And there were people who were really, really positive about it. And then I was like, okay, maybe I should try it. And then I tried it, and it took maybe a day to get used to it because it's strange in the beginning. And it's vibrating, like you're being massaged all the time. But
the best part of it.
yeah. Sometimes I just put on like a very nice bass line and just let my back massage.
No. Really?
No. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it would be nice.
Thank you for listening to Talk to the Artist. This show is powered by Paradise Distribution. You can find a playlist for this episode on our Spotify channel or over at www.torturetheartist.com. There you'll also find links and more information about today's guest. Please follow me on Instagram at Aera and subscribe to this podcast for more interviews with your favorite artists.